So we're going to be trying out the DJI mic and the Black Magic app, so we'll see how all this goes. Here we are, we're having our picnic. Got some goods from M&S Food Market, and we are right in front of the Tower of London. So, Tower of London is famously a prison. It's been the site of many executions. Very famously,
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Okay, so we're gonna give that a try again. And use the DJI mic this time. Maybe the sound will be a little bit better. So it's been very famously a prison, a site of many famous executions.
Wasn't it, not Mary Queen of Scots, right?
She was here?
No.
Yeah. There was Anne Boleyn for sure.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think she was Elizabeth first had
The Mary Queen of Scots. Yes.
Yeah.
Her half sister. And then it was also at one point in the 1800s a zoo. Just, they have the cages. It's fine. So, we'll catch up with you later. But this is it. We're going to try to do Tower of London today. We're going to do Tower Bridge, Leadenhall Market, and we'll try for the Jack the Ripper tour around 5 p.m. today.
and maybe the Shard.
Maybe the Shard. Okay. See ya. We are at the Crown Jewels. We're not able to take any pictures or video on the inside, but very excited nonetheless. And here inside the Tower of London, this is what's around us. Beautiful day today, by the way.
Too soon. Now, Anne Boleyn was found guilty of adultery, witchcraft, incest with her brother George, which we know is not true. Laughing, get this, laughing at the King's wardrobe. That's a true charge, bonkers. The list went on and on. She was found guilty and sentenced to death, but Queen Anne Boleyn was petrified of the act. She pleaded with the King that if she were to admit to every single charge brought against her, could she be executed in the French manner, a double-edged sword. Henry pondered the request and said, no, because that means I've got to go and collect the swordsman of Calais and bring him back, and I don't have time. I am due to be married any day now to Jane Seymour. She's waiting very patiently in the royal palace. We need to get things moving. Even the Privy Council were not aware the swordsman of Calais was already here. 4 days before Queen Anne Boleyn had even stood trial. No matter what was going to happen, she was always going to lose her life. The truth? She could not provide a surviving male heir to the throne of England. She was no longer needed and discarded. On that awful day, the Queen was led by her ladies-in-waiting onto the northeast corner. Behind you, my friends, is a tree in bloom. That general area there is where a small platform had been built with a bed of straw on top. The Queen was led onto that platform by her ladies-in-waiting. She climbed the steps, got to the centre of that platform and turned. Right in front of her, the entire court of King Henry VIII, here to watch this barbaric act. She, however, said nothing. She did, though, drop to her knees, lowered her head, and she began to pray. The final part of her prayer she would repeat. As soon as she started to repeat her words, her ladies-in-waiting stepped forward and tied a blindfold around her eyes. The final words of Queen Anne Boleyn were these: Lord God, have pity on my miserable soul, repeated until death. But the silence was broken by the swordsman of Calais, making his way through the crowd and jumping onto the platform, standing in front of the Queen. No sword in his possession. The whispers and rumours had started that the swordsman of Calais knew the young Anne Boleyn from her days at French court. The rumours were true. He did know her. He also knew how petrified she was, and to not add any more anxiety to the situation, he'd already hidden his sword in the bed of straw where he knew the Queen would be on bended knee and praying to God. Without missing a beat, he stood in front of the Queen where he bowed. He then turned around and called out, "Boy, bring me my sword!" Now that caught the Queen's attention, a voice that she recognised. Blindfold still on, still at prayer, she slowly lifted her head and tilted to where the voice was coming from. The gap was tiny, but it was all the skilled swordsman needed, because in one swift motion, he bent down, picked up the hidden sword, and the head was gone, clean off. King or queen, peasant, poor man, does not matter. The head must be held high to be declared a traitor. My friends, are we ready for some audience participation? Yes. Are you sure? There was no cheering this time. As the head of the Queen was raised high in the air, the crowd let out a large gasp. Well done. Were you there? That was really good. Women were fainting. Exactly like that. Men were falling out in sheer shock because the severed head was raised, the blindfold had slipped, the Queen of England's eyes were wide open, searching the crowd, and her lips were still moving in prayer. So clean was the blade of that sword, the head had not realised it had been dispatched from the body for nearly 14 seconds. Fact, that is written in the archives. Quite disturbed by this, and I went home and spoke to my husband about it. Now, my husband's still serving in the military. He's in the parachute regiment, so he has no empathy. Explain what had gone on. First words out of my husband's mouth were these: awesome. And he saw my face and went, awful. He said, AJ, I can see this has upset you, and I am sorry. He said, however, that is the proof that since the dawn of time, women have always had the last word. Where she climbed the steps of the scaffold, walked past the executioner with the axe in his hand, and turned to the court and declared, today, I die the Queen of England. But today I die rather married to the only man I've ever truly loved, Thomas Culpeper. Thomas Culpepper's in the crowd like that. I'm joking, he wasn't there. He had already been hanged, drawn and quartered for his troubles in this awful mess. On hearing the declaration, however, the king was so angry, he ordered the immediate execution of Catherine's lady-in-waiting, Jane the Viscountess of Rochford. He declared her a traitor, saying she must have known what was going on and did not tell the king. She will die too. But this is where the court of Henry VIII started to turn against him, because that young lady was in fact Jane Boleyn, the sister-in-law of Queen Anne Boleyn, and Henry's way of trying to rid the Boleyn family name from the royal courts once and for all. For these and many, many more poor unfortunate souls find their final resting place in a mass-unmarked grave that was discovered here during the reign of Queen Victoria in 1876. The Chapel Royal of St Peter ad Vincula, a royal peculiar, owned even today and run by the monarch themselves. Not the Diocese of London, not any archbishops, the monarch. So back in those days, it was only the royal family, select members of the Privy Council and the bodyguard that was allowed to enter. It's only through the kindness of His Majesty King Charles III he has allowed visitors to go in and visit the Chapel Royal. 1876,
That's where one of the queens was
Victoria went for church service,
beheaded.
got halfway down the aisle, tripped and fell flat on her face. The floor was sinking. They didn't understand why. It's a solid build. I promise, it's a solid build. It's the first time in the history of a church we are fundraising for a roof. The roof is actually getting fixed. The foundations are still solid. They went in there, the Royal Commission, and dug down to find out why the floor was sinking. Queen Victoria also wanted an underfloor heating system put in place. To their utter astonishment, the entire floor plate is where they discovered over 1,700 headless bodies.
Oh my God.
The Chapel Royal was indeed a mass unmarked grave.
So we're in the chapel here in the Tower of London. The nice yeoman over there told me that it's actually through the doorway there. There's this giant marble crypt, and where they found like 1,700 or 17,000 bodies here, buried underneath, all beheaded at the Tower of London. So it's actually underneath our feet, the crypt, where they found them in the Victorian era and then built them a marble crypt. What a neat place. Unfortunately, we can't go in there now because it's currently under renovation, but what a really neat part of history. we are at Leadenhall Market. We just finished the Tower of London, which was really neat. Learned a lot about the history there. Got to listen to a beef eater even talk about their history. Now, they were required to have served 22 years of military service before applying there and retiring. But they do excellent tours. So it's an antique market with some art. Just taking all this in is incredible. All open air, but covered. They do. Oh my goodness. Some art. Oh, little Paddington. Wow. And there's Lamb Tavern. They say it's 700 years old. Yep. They say that this is what inspired Diagon Alley. Yeah. It's been a filming location over the years as well for different movies.
Yeah.
So we're at the Merveilleux, and they have their own signature cake that was delivered. That was done. It is so neat. We've chosen the chocolate, which is the original, and we'll try to find us a seat. There's a sign. Still here. Alright, so we've got our cake. This is what's made this cafe famous. Alright, and we'll give it a bit of a taste. Oh. Alright. It's just because we're watching, huh? Alright. Oh. Okay, very squishy. A little cookie at the bottom, I think. Alright, let's try to give you a view of what it looks like. Oop. Except I'm terrible. Alright, there it is. So it looks like there's a cookie on the side. There's a cookie, there's some cream, and a cookie again at the bottom. Excuse me. Alright. What do you think?
Oh,
Good?
it's delicious. Delicious.
Alright. So light. A nice chocolate cream. The cookie inside it.
I think it's meringue.
It is. I think you're right. But not too crunchy. Nothing. It's so good. Highly recommend. Hi.
Hi.
So here we are right after the Jack the Ripper tour. They told us to come over to the 10 Bells because it's a bar that was frequented by two of the victims from Jack the Ripper, and so much so that people have actually tried to name this bar Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper,
but they couldn't because it's after a serial killer. Kind of bad taste, you know. But here we are. We just ordered some food, and I'll give you a look here. You can see there's still some things that say 1888 about this place, but there's not, not everything. And we are probably the only history freaks that are here. Everyone else seems honestly pretty cool. So, we just ordered a burger, and it'll probably be up.
Burger and fries.
Yes, and that's probably all for tonight.
Yeah.
But it was a good day, pretty macabre with the Tower of London and Jack the Ripper.
And Jack the Ripper,
But,
yeah. We get everything all done in one place.
Yeah. But pretty neat day altogether.
Sunshine.